Aloha and welcome to Java. Thank you for joining me. It is Monday on the anniversary of September 11th, 2023. So I just thought I would start with a little bit of a memorial and a little bit of a foreshadowing of where our economy might be headed. So let's get into this for today. We've got our favorite indicator of risk up, and it hit 280, went over, and it's retraced to slightly below right now. So we're still clearly a high risk area, just kind of teetering up there, waiting for something to kind of knock it off. So for our calendar this week, we don't have much today, but the markets for the most part are looking forward to the core inflation, which we're expecting on Wednesday. They're also looking at the United Auto Workers strike, which may happen on Thursday. So I've got another related story to that coming up. So if we look at the main components, we are looking that the strength of the dollar is recovering again in relative strength, and that will have negative pressure for equities and for stocks. So the 10-year yield is back up or just under that 4.3 that the markets hate. So where they're at currently, I expect them to have a pullback for today, probably short term today, maybe tomorrow, a little bit as they are looking forward to that inflation number. And you can see what the markets are expecting. They're going to a little bit more risk off. Gold is getting a little bit of a boost. Oil is recovering a bit. It's had a massive run up lately, and it's taking a little bit of a pullback, but I think for the longer term, it will continue higher once it corrects a little bit here. You've got Saudi and Russia are still restricting their supplies, as well as the United States administration is kind of cutting leases and still restricting their pipelines. So that restriction in supply is very inflationary for oil going forward. So I've got a couple of stories I wanted to go forward with. And the first one is Germany. I want to pay more attention to the language in this headline. Germany is predicted to be the only major European economy to contract this year as recession lingers. So the wording in this puts it forward that the rest of the European economy is already pulling out of the recession. The recession is ending, it's over, and Germany is just lagging a little bit. That's kind of the picture that this one paints. So we're going to go to the second headline is that US consumer debt fears are overblown as borrowing slows and inflation cools. And this is from Moody's. So I want you to think that it doesn't matter that, don't worry about the consumer debt. It's not a big deal because they're slowing down their borrowing and inflation is cooling off. But what they're not saying is that they're slowing down because they're not able to borrow anymore because they're being cut off by the banks. And inflation is cooling finally because no one is able to purchase anything. And so prices are finally beginning to correct in some areas. So we've got the Fed may have beaten back inflation and skirted a recession for now, according to Goldman Sachs. And then this story kind of has a two-edged blade. Gold gains as US inflation data takes center stage next week. Or this week, pardon me. So this is basically a risk off, and it says that the markets are basically expecting that there's going to be some easing and a lot of easy money, and that's why people purchase gold to hedge against that. But there's more to that. So if we are to believe this narrative, then the bottom is in for stocks, and everything is at a screaming deal of a buy. I disagree. I don't think this is the bottom at all. I think we're at a major bottom. Nothing goes straight in one direction, straight up or straight down. However, I think we've got much more correction to go. And as for right now, the pain must continue. So what do we see in reality? These are the real questions. If the economy is doing great, why are most Americans not feeling it? And then we've got one other one that is coming out saying the mighty American consumer is about to hit a wall. Investors say, and this is kind of because they cannot shop anymore, their savings are out and the credit cards are maxed and they're not able to borrow any more money. So according to the US Census Bureau, they came out with some recent data and it says that 39% of Americans are now struggling to pay their bills. This is much higher than the spike in 2020, when it hit 32.2%. So from 32.2, we're up to 39% of Americans that cannot pay their bills now. On top of that, we've got the Energy Department helping to fund EV or electric vehicle factory updates. And this is an issue that percolates with the UAW talks. So this United Auto Workers, but we've got a government entity, the Energy Department, stepping in to help fund updates of these factories. This should be private only. And so this is just another form of quantitative easing of the government paying for private sector, but they're very careful about their wording again. So this is inflationary because it's your tax dollars at work, but they have to be very careful about what the public sees. So for a trade section in reality economics, because I know I'm going a different format today, but this is a little bit larger of what's going on. Things are changing very rapidly. And so we've got this story, the Western sanctions on Russia could push BRICS alliance closer. And I agree with that because now all of the countries are forging bonds and willing to take a small hit to trade in their own native currencies rather than trading in the US dollar. We've also got India and Saudi Arabia. They agreed to expand their economic and security ties after the G20 summit. So they're only one pair. But basically everyone in the group are now making private deals around the US dollar, and this is not good for the reserve currency of the world. So with that being said, I just want to clarify that I do think that de-dollarizing and the US dollar losing its reserve currency status is going to take some time, but there's definite pressure going into it, and I believe it's definitely going to happen sooner or later. So we'll see. So we've got a couple of other stories. The Dutch, if you remember a story not long ago about the Dutch farmers and everything that has been happening, they have been protesting as well. And now they're forging ties with the Chinese to explore potentials for agricultural cooperation. So they are basically the breadbasket of Europe. And I think that was a large mistake, but anyway, we'll watch that going forward. And then we've got the president of the US, in order to counter China, backing the World Bank for a bigger role in the global screen. So this is a little bit of a misnomer, especially with the photo that they're putting out, because they're showing basically BRICS nations coming together and talking about the World Bank. So the BRICS Bank is the new development bank, just to clarify, and they are talking about the World Bank, which is completely separate, basically with the European Union. So anyway, we've got this story coming out. Biden doubts China is able to invade Taiwan amid economic woes. I understand he is the president of the free world, but he has difficulty finding his way off the podium sometimes. So it does not instill courage in me that he doubts that China can invade. I think he's misunderstanding terribly. Anyway, if there's anything you like in here, please hit the like button. Leave me any questions in the comments if you would. I've got a couple of lava updates. Really doesn't have much to do with this. But what these are, I want to put them up, are posters. And they're kind of from the Chinese side. That's where they came from, of the propaganda from a different view. So we see our United States propaganda where we are from a lot of times. And I just wanted to put these up so that you could see these. And I hope that everyone got an opportunity to see Mr. Perkins' video yesterday. I will leave another link to that in today in case you didn't get the opportunity, because it's how business trade is done, has been done for a long time, and it will kind of turn the light on for you. So with that, I wish you all a green trading day, just a wonderful day in general. Thank you again for joining me. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.